Well, I have to admit, I didn't know very much about crows. I picked up this deck, the Crow Tarot, it's a U.S. Games production. I picked it up, and it is by a creator named MJ Cullinane. Okay, and she has created an unusual deck, very popular. Here's an example of the box here, standard two-piece hardcover box. Here's the back. It comes with a guidebook, and I would like to read a couple paragraphs of the introduction by MJ here. Crows have always held a special place in my heart. I cannot pinpoint when or why it started, but for as long as I can remember, since I was a little girl growing up south of Boston, crows have fascinated me. It may be because when I look into their eyes, I get a distinct feeling that they know something so much more significant than I could ever comprehend, something otherworldly. Okay, she goes on to say, crows never forget a face, and if we are open, they let us connect with them in an extraordinary, almost soulful way. Like humans, crows can hold a grudge for a lifetime, and they can pass down stories to warn future generations of crows of the dangers around them. Now, that is very true. I may not have believed that without doing a little bit of research. I found out that crows have remarkable intelligence. In fact, they are up there with cognitive abilities. They're up there with a 7-year-old human child. And that is no joke. Crows can make tools and use tools to go hunting, for example, and they can also create more advanced tools. Okay, crows they recognize themselves in mirrors. They plan for the future. They can work in teams, and they each have an individual personality and can like or dislike individual people. And they remember you and how you treated them. Remarkably intelligent. But anyways, I'm going to get into the deck a bit here. Here's the back of the deck, by the way, and the back of the card. And it's a little bit larger than a standard tarot, as you can see here. Okay, so it's a nice cardstock. It's a little on the thick side. Some people like that, some people don't, but that's what it is. Okay, well, let's begin. Our first card is the Fool. And I'm not going to describe each card. I'm going to let you look at the card. I'm just going to read the title and kind of flip through them. That's our Fool. Here's Magician. Here's the High Priestess. This deck was originally an indie production, and then U.S. Games got a hold of it and created the mass market here. Very nice cardstock and so forth. So U.S. Games did a nice job in this deck. Okay, here's the Empress. Here's the Emperor. Here's the Hierophant. Here's the Lover's card. Crows mate for life. You know, like a few other mammals do. They do indeed mate for life. I thought that was very interesting. Our Lovers. The Chariot. Here's Strength. I like the flowers around the lion there. Here's the Hermit. Little lantern there. Okay, the Wheel of Fortune. Look at around the wheel here, what's on top and what's below. Scorpion there, a lion, marble statue, and what's that thing up there? Well, I can't quite make it out, but that's our wheel card. Here's Justice. Here's the Hanged Man. And here's Death. Death presides over a skeletal remains of a crow. Here's Temperance. And here's our Devil Crow card. The Tower. Here's our Star card. And the Moon should be interesting. Well, the Moon, we have a fish at the bottom here. I can see one crow over here. I don't necessarily see another one that I can make out. And here's the Sun card. Here's Judgment. And wrapping up the majors is the World. Okay, moving on to Wands. This is the Ace. Like the skyline in the background there. It's our Ace. Our 2. And the 3. Here's the 4. And the 5. The 6 of Wands. And the 7. And here's the 8. The 9. And the 10 of Wands. So our Page. And the Knight. The Queen. And the King. Okay, moving on to Cups. This is the Ace. Little wafer there and that other bird up there. The 2. 3 of Cups. Here's the 4. And the 5 of Cups. Here's a 6. Here's a 7. Here's the 8. The 9. And here's the 10 of Cups. A couple little birds in the nest there. It's kind of interesting. Here's our Page. And the Knight. I like how the cup is balanced on the horse's head there. That's our Knight. Here's the queen. And here's the king. Seated upon his throne. Okay, moving on to pentacles. This is the ace. Here's the 2. The 3 of pentacles. The 4. The 5 of pentacles. And the 6. The 7. The 8 of pentacles. The 9. And the 10 of pentacles. The page. And the knight. The queen. And the king. Okay. Moving on to swords. This is the ace. Wow, look, that sword just goes straight in line with the crow there. The ace. The 2 has a little blindfold on there. The 3 of swords. And here's the 4. And the 5. Hey, here's the 6 of swords. And here's the 7. And the 8. Here's the 9. Here's the 10 of swords. And the page. And the knight. The queen. And wrapping it up is a king of swords. Well, this deck is now a classic of sorts. And there are several Crow Tarot decks you can get. This is the one that started it all. And my thanks out to MJ Cullinane for her artistry here and her guidebook. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks so much for watching.